Whether you like it or not, in life, persuasion is everything. No matter what you do, what you work in, at some point you're going to need to persuade somebody of something. Whether that's selling a product, or a holiday, or convincing your friend to take that one last shot with you, or convincing them that they've had enough before they lose that battle with gravity. So my one question to you is, why not learn from the best? In the 1980s, Jordan Belfort perfected the art of sales, and now he's managed to sell his entire life story to people all over the world. Inspired by Jordan Belfort, I'm going to be breaking down 3 key sales strategies that you can use to persuade anyone of virtually anything. Now this video is going to be broken down into 3 key strategies. The first one being preparation, the second one being matching, and the third one being reframing using language patterns. Now, most people will be keen to skip over the first strategy, even though it is arguably the most important. Now most people don't realize how much preparation goes in to preparing a good sales pitch. Even Jordan Belfort reveals in an interview with Ty Lopez just how much preparation he does before making a sales pitch.
What does it mean to be a born salesman? What it means is that you're actually running a strategy automatically inside. You're doing it.
You're still following a script, but it comes natural.
Automatically. So, but you don't realize it, but you are following a certain protocol that gets you to the same outcome every time.
First day, you didn't have time to implement a whole script. What do you do that most people don't do today?
Well, in fact, I see one of the interesting things you said, you didn't have time to put together a script. In fact, I did.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah.
On day one?
I took 3 hours to write one. See, I would never, this is something interesting thing happened many years later, this is relevant, is that when I was tested by some psychologists about my ability to close, they put me through a whole battery of these weird tests, and one of them was a mock sale where I had to close someone in an investment type of situation that was being filmed.
Was it like sell me this pen kind of thing?
It was they handed me like sort of some information on the dairy industry, and I had to then convince someone to open up an account at a firm to manage the money for the dairy industry, right?
Okay.
So they handed me about 10, 12 pages of information, right? And they said, take as much time as you want and, to study this, and let's see you close this guy, right? So I start reading it, I'm reading, right? I start writing down my thoughts. About 30 minutes later, they knock on the door. I'm like, yeah. I said, do you need more time? I said, yeah, just give me another 30 minutes. I said, okay, no problem. 30 minutes goes by, they come back. I said, just give me another 20 minutes. They said, no problem. Take 20 more minutes. I said, give me 15 more minutes, right? Anyway, after about 2 hours, I said, I'm ready. And I had wrote myself a really, not an exact script, but pretty close to a really killer script with sort of, how I would actually engineer the sale from start to finish.
You were selling penny stocks.
No, this I'm talking now is recent, many years later.
Recent, okay.
But I want to tell you this because it's relevant. Now, this is like, I think 2010 that this happened, right? With psychologists being filmed.
Oh, okay, this is the later test.
And they called in some guy who was an actor, and he was supposed to be the CEO of a dairy company, and I was supposed to close him. So we go through this whole thing, and I introduce myself, and we go through this back and forth, and they're filming the whole thing. And after about 15 minutes, the guy he's like, okay, fine, I'll open up an account. Psychologists come in, they say, we told him under no circumstances should he say yes.
Yep.
Yet within 15 minutes, he said yes. I don't get it. I said, well, when I got the guy into a situation, did it make sense to say no? He said, well, here's the weird thing. We've tested 100 other people in sales, and no one ever spent more than 5 minutes reading the material.
Huh.
You spent 2 hours.
So preparation, it's some simple fundamentals.
Part of the straight line is about strategic preparation. But it starts with your ability to essentially make an airtight case to someone on both a logical and an emotional level, right?
Yeah.
About, essentially why you're right to want them to do whatever you want them to do. Why does it make sense, right?
Yes.
And it's got to be an airtight case, and then you have to be able to also accomplish other things as well. So there's 2 ways to go about that. One is to wing it, which you might be able to do if you're really, really great. Or you can write it down, plan it out. I mean, the second one is where you really start to bring your averages up tremendously. So I'm a big believer in strategic preparation.
So here, Jordan is highlighting the fact that he spent 2 hours preparing for just one sales pitch, as opposed to the others that spent no longer than just 15 minutes. So the overarching theme here is that when you are about to sell something to somebody, you should look at the information provided to you and work out an airtight case to sell it to them, both on an emotional and on a logical basis. The second sales strategy, which is overlooked by so many people, is called matching. Now the logic behind matching is quite simple. People like people that are similar to themselves. So for example, this could be things such as being from the same place. But also in my personal experience, I've seen people have more affinities towards others who even have the same make of phone. However, we're going to be looking at matching on a different communication level. So you can still exploit this psychological flaw in people even when you don't have the same make of phone or you're not from the same country. See, the two levels of matching that are really overlooked is matching someone's body language and also matching their tonality. So first of all, let's start with mirroring body language. Body language mirroring works because it triggers the mirror neurons in the brain. This gives off a subconscious signal that I am like you and we feel the same. Then the research shows that people who experience the same emotions as us are more likely to experience mutual trust, connection, and understanding, and therefore are more likely to agree to being sold to. The best and easiest example to look at for body language mirroring is yawning. On screen you can see right now a video clip of people yawning, and now you will probably start to feel the temptation to yawn as well. This is your mirror neurons in action. But body language matching can be simpler too, such as simply folding your arms to match the other person. You can also match someone's tonality to help build trust and make the sale easier. This could be matching someone's volume or matching the pace at which they speak. This will make people think that you feel how they feel and they'll feel understood. However, be very careful not to take this one to the extreme. For example,
it's secret possession. This quality price is not China.
I have never heard such an expensive price for these panties before. So my advice here is to not try and impersonate someone's accent, but instead just try and copy their volume or the pace in which they're speaking at. And then you will find it easier to gain trust and find it much easier to make the sale. Now the third and final piece of information that I will give you to improve your sales is learning some set phrases and language patterns to change the direction of the conversation. And the first pattern I'm going to introduce you to here is called the agreement pattern. The agreement pattern works when someone introduces you to their first objection, point A. It's at this point that most salesmen will try and have an argument suggesting as to why your no should be a yes. The agreement pattern takes note of this and realizes that if someone argues against someone's objection, they're just going to fight for their objection more, and thus the whole thing descends into an argument. So using the agreement pattern, instead, what the salesman will do is they will agree with point A, and then they will move the client onto point B. For example, you may be trying to sell a car, and the client might say, oh well, this is more expensive than other similar cars. And therefore, instead of you arguing that this car is not expensive, you agree with them. You say, yes, this car is very expensive, but it also comes with several built-in features which justify its price tag. This helps keep dialogue open and free-flowing, and therefore does not end your sale. Likewise, if you don't actually agree with their point, don't fake it. Simply say something like, I hear what you're saying, and then make your point B. The trick here is to use a non-committal statement instead of agreeing with their point A.
To where exactly, because you don't want to be a $50 million company forever, obviously you want to be a $250 million company, so we look at both the short-term and long. Does that make sense to you? Do you like that program?
Look, in theory it sounds good, but I mean, you know, at the end of the day, it sounds like you deal with a lot of big companies, and you know, we're not a huge company. You know, it's a pretty simple business model actually. So I'm just wondering if it's all a bit too much and too complex for us.
Right.
Right. We've run it pretty successfully in the past by following a pretty simple model.
Right.
So yeah, I'm just not sure.
Well, let me say this. I hear what you're saying, and I like to pride myself on being a guy that takes medium-sized companies and turns them into big companies, and that's really how we make our money. You know, all big companies one's for medium-sized, and one's small companies, right?
Yeah.
And the
This means they'll be easier to close later because they haven't become defensive. Another little trick to using this technique is to always use the word and rather than but. So for example, see how it sounds different when I say, oh, the car is expensive, but it has all these built-in features, as opposed to, yes, the car is expensive and it has all these built-in features. It makes it sound less like I'm giving an excuse for the price. The final language pattern that I want to talk you through today is simply using the phrase, what's the worst that could happen? This lowers a buyer's threshold. And they start thinking, well, what could go wrong? I could lose a bit of money. But this is why companies bring in things such as money-back guarantees, because it changes the way that we look at things. We stop looking for what we're getting out of it, and we think, well, what could go wrong? It gives us a backstop, a certainty that we will recover our money. If you found this video interesting or helpful, I'll leave a link to Jordan's book down below so you can buy that and really help the channel out. Likewise, an easy way to help this channel out is to subscribe and like and leave a comment with either some suggestions of videos you'd like to see or some feedback on this video. And you can also check out some of my other videos and see if you might find some of them useful and interesting. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.